Hey guys, James here, and I just wanted to make a quick video on Humankind, the upcoming 4X game which is trying to compete with the likes of Sid Meier and the Civilization franchise. The game is being developed by Amplitude Studios, who also made the Endless Space and Endless Legends series, which are both great 4X games, although I personally never really got that into them. I had access to the recent closed beta, which was really my first time playing the game, and so with some hours under my belt now, I wanted to share some of my initial impressions of things I liked and things I didn't like. Again, this was only the beta, and these are just initial impressions based off around 15 hours or so of gameplay, so there might be some things that I missed or did not fully understand yet. So the first thing I really like about the game is the whole flow of the game. I think they really nailed down this part, and as a result, the turns and the game as a whole can feel very seamless. Turns easily blend together, and if you thought you got lost playing Civ, this game at times almost feels like it plays itself. Part of this is because the AI performs moves at the same time as you, leading to minimal actions needed to be performed by them when you end your turn. You start off the game in the Neolithic era with a small tribe of people. By finding and hunting food, you begin to grow your population, all while discovering land. I really like this early era because it gives you a chance to scout and compete for land before making any major decisions. In order to get to the next era, you need to perform certain tasks which give you enough era stars to jump into the next age. In the Neolithic era, this consists of hunting animals, growing your population, and discovering curiosities which give you science and maybe other bonuses. Later on, this might consist of things like building districts, controlling territories, killing units, and making money. I will say, I do wish that they maybe included some other ways to get some of these stars, but overall, not too bad of a system. Then, when you meet the era star requirement, you can choose to level up your culture, and that allows you to pick from 10 different cultures, each with their own bonuses and playstyle. Choosing different cultures will change your empire aesthetically while also bringing different bonuses and unique units and buildings. I have some mixed feelings about some of the cultures in the game. On the one hand, some of them play really uniquely and have some interesting limitations, but others tend to feel kinda samey, even with different types of bonuses. My only other major complaint about the game flow is that I do feel like the AI, as well as you, advance fairly quickly through the eras when compared to the rate of your science research and expansion, and I think balancing this will make the game feel a little more natural. Once you're ready to establish your empire, you can begin claiming territories. Unlike Civ, in this game, you control territories which are pre-mapped out, and you need to create an outpost and later a city in order to claim the land as your own. One of my issues with these pre-mapped territories though are that sometimes the lines can end up a little weird, where sometimes you don't even control your own coast, which to me is kinda silly, and I think it's something that they should definitely fix. What I do like about the system though is that it allows you to claim as much land as your resources allow, but you also need to be able to protect these outposts or else enemies can ransack and take these territories for themselves. Your empire thus begins to slowly expand, but you're constantly having to deal with outside forces coming in. I like the district system a lot, and I like how you need to balance it with your empire stability. It's actually a pretty straightforward system. For example, if you want to set up a food district, then you'll get bonuses of food based on the adjacent districts as well as the land around. Establishing districts improves your resource yields, but also decreases your empire stability, so you always need to be aware of this. There are parts when it comes to the infrastructure that I don't quite understand yet and how these might affect districts, so that'll definitely be something I investigate further when I actually play down the line. I also really like the garrison system. You can set up garrisons in areas of your city which grant stability, as well as giving you spawning points for units to allow for quick reinforcements. As for warfare, this is probably one of the areas where Humankind really diverges from Civ. Personally, I really like it. You're able to stack different units together to form regiments. Then, when you bring your troops in for a fight, you go through a 3-turn mini battle where you can actually control units over the actual terrain. As an attacker, your job is to take the enemy flag, while defenders try to prevent you from doing this. I actually found the combat fairly difficult because I felt like the terrain actually makes a huge difference in how battles can play out. You can be way stronger unit-wise, but poor positioning and decision-making can make it easy for a fight to swing. Unfortunately, I think that understanding the terrain isn't super easy though. I find that even figuring out how to move units outside of battle can be a bit confusing. This is because of the different levels of elevation that the land in the game takes on. If you're not zoomed in enough, you might not actually see the elevation, and as a result, you might discover that your units can't quite move onto a tile right next to it due to how the land is laid out. I do like the elevation in the game, but I do think that the pathing can be difficult to grasp as a result. The warfare system also allows you to auto-battle where you can place your units on the field, and then you hit a button and you have them duel it out like an auto-battler or an auto-chess game. I really like this mode too, but maybe something they could allow you to do is set priorities or aggression in these battles. The reinforcement system is really cool too, allowing you to spawn other armies into a battle if they're within range, but I do wish reinforcements were allowed a bit earlier in the game. My only other complaint with the warfare is that I'm not sure there's any real way to disengage an attack. Sometimes I would try to click on an enemy just to see how the math of the battle might work out, but once you click into the battle, unless the enemy decides to retreat, you're going to be forced to fight it out. I also really like the civic system, where you can make decisions which will affect certain cultural pillars of your empire, such as collectivism versus individualism, liberty versus authority, tradition versus progress, or nationalism versus universalism. These different axes determine your culture and will impact your relations with other nations, where those with similar views tend to be nicer to you. Speaking of other nations, I like how they handle diplomatic relationships in Humankind. The AI might not always be the smartest, although to be honest, I also wasn't playing at the highest level, but I do think that they include a pretty smart grievance system into the game. When nations inflict grievances on each other, such as trespassing, attacking your troops, or attacking an ally, you can either make demands for reparation, which might be for gold or territory, or you could renounce the grievance. These demands can actually stack up if the other nation doesn't comply, and will also give you war support, which is almost like an overall war health bar. During war, support goes up and down based on the results of battles until one nation loses their war support and is forced to surrender. I think it's a really cool system, although I think some warmongering types might not like the forced surrenders, as surrender might be triggered before you even get a chance to raise the enemy. But when the enemy does surrender, I do like the system here where you can even take someone as your vassal, which I think is a really cool thing they added. Also, real quick, I like how even when you're at peace with someone, you may have little skirmishes around your borders or in neutral territories. This keeps your armies moving around rather than just camping in a spot on alert mode all the time, which tends to happen a lot in Civ games. I find these constant conflicts very interesting and helps to escalate the stakes. Overall, from a gameplay perspective, I'm actually really impressed with Humankind, and I felt like it was really polished. I like the mechanics they implemented, and I think they bring an interesting take on the Civ formula. Maybe my main negative from a gameplay perspective is that I think they could have used more things to manage within the game, but we'll need to see how things evolve into the late game. I also felt like influence was maybe too important early on, as it's the key resource to allow you to expand and develop your cities. Then, as a result, it becomes not as useful later on once you're more established. I think the game itself is beautiful and looks way better than Civ 6 in my personal opinion, and a huge part of this is the elevation that I mentioned earlier. The music is also pretty solid from what I heard as well, and I like how they'll shift between music and a really nice ambiance. I did have some complaints outside of the gameplay, mainly around learning the game as well as the UI. I personally found the UI just a bit difficult to navigate. Part of this is without a doubt just the fact that it's a new 4X game, which are notorious for being not beginner friendly, but I felt like while the UI did display a ton of useful information, I was always somehow having trouble finding what I wanted to know. There's honestly some elements of the game I wouldn't have known how to perform if it weren't for watching the official tutorial video as well as some streamers who played the game. Like all 4X games, you learn the game by playing, but I did think that this game felt not as beginner friendly as Civ. I also think that at times the UI can get quite cluttered, maybe from the size of the different panels, and as a result, you need to make an effort to click out of some of the boxes and areas. I also didn't like how the map would change views if you zoomed out. I think I would have preferred to have seen the world in its normal view, and then maybe allowing you to apply some different filters to adjust your view for country, culture, religion, whatever it might be. Finally, maybe I'm crazy, but how do you not have a minimap? I just found this sort of weird, and maybe the zoom out is meant to replace the minimap, but personally, I think a minimap is way easier and nicer to look at. But again, the UI is already a little cluttered, so having a minimap there might be a little bit weird. But overall, those are my main thoughts after playing a bit of the Humankind beta. Again, I had a pretty limited amount of time with it, so a lot of what I stated might actually even be wrong, but I'll say that I was pretty impressed with the game overall, and I can't wait for the game to come out. I definitely want to get more hours into the game before my official review, but overall, I'm happy to have been able to play the Humankind beta. And if you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below, did you play the Humankind beta, and what did you think of it? And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that like or subscribe button, as it helps my channel grow and motivates me to make more and better videos. And as usual, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.